Okay, we got something different here. We have a Trimet Transit Improvement Facebook Live. Let's see. Let's watch this. It's only on Facebook. It's not on YouTube. I still have my Facebook account. I try not to use it because of what Facebook is and what Twitter is becoming. But I do keep it because of things like this. And occasionally I want to research something and I have to use Facebook to research it.
Question. Please enter your written questions in the chat box on your screen. Look for a conversational bubble in the bottom right corner of your computer screen called Chat Box and send your question to me, Clay Thompson. If you want to raise your hand to speak, open the participants window next to Chat Box and click on the hand icon. We'll unmute you so you can speak. If you're following on Facebook Live, the live stream was only available on WebEx, but if you'd like to speak, just go ahead and enter your question into the message window and we'll relay it to the panelists. Please limit your verbal comments to 3 minutes so we can answer as many questions as possible. And if you're on the phone, you can raise your hand by pressing *3 on your keypad. Tonight's open house is being recorded, and we will post the video on trimet.org/plan for everyone to view. Now let's meet tonight's panelists. With us are Brenda Martin, Luke Norman, and Eve Nealanders.
Okay, yeah, I couldn't find it on their YouTube, so it's on their, I don't know where it is, on their website somewhere if you can find it. Let's look at these comments real quick here. How many were there? Let me see. I can't. I don't want to read them all. Let me just. Yeah, quite a few. Let's see. Sleepy. All right, keep playing.
So let's get started. Our first question is for Brenda. Brenda, had a question for you that came in that was regarding the 93 and 94 between Tigard and Sherwood. And the question says, how is the change to the line 93 and 94 going to help people transitioning between that Tigard Transit Center and the trips into downtown Portland?
See this fucking Facebook with this most relevant is selected, so some comments maybe. I hate that, man. Why? Oh, I see. You have to. I want all the comments. I want all of them. Stop trying to tell me what to watch.
Thank you, Clay, and thank you for this question, and I'm very excited to be here. So the proposal to combine the lines 93 and 94 will be able to make a one-seat ride from Sherwood to downtown Portland. Today, you can either take the 93 from Sherwood to downtown Tigard.
Yeah, good. That's smart. But I understand that it lessens the service. There's less service. We were debating this on Twitter on our little club. We have a little club, very small, 5 or 6 of us that follow this stuff. Very nice.
Transfer to the line 94 or the line 12. So if anybody wants to travel to downtown Portland from Tigard Transit Center, they could take either the 12 on Barber Boulevard, and it makes every stop, or you can take the 94, which is a limited stop bus that stops on a few stops on Barber into downtown Portland. If you're traveling from Sherwood and want to go to downtown Portland, now you have a one-seat ride on the new line 94.
Well, that's smart.
Great. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. So now we're going to take a live question, and this is coming from, let me see if I can find the information
it goes
here.
To Tigard, I see. And then
this is a question from Serene Fung.
I didn't know what
and
that was.
Our moderator will go ahead and open Serene's microphone so you can go ahead and ask your question.
Hi, Clayton. Can you hear me clearly?
Yes.
Can I share the concern I have?
They got their little Trimet insignia.
Emailed to you.
This is fun.
So everybody can hear what exactly is going on. I'm Serene Fong.
What is this? Where's all the fucking...
a frequent daily user of number 15 that goes from northwest, the northeast, namely like from Chapman School to the Max terminal on...
Hold it. That's a good one. Cheryl Ann Lewis, right over here. I was a major contributor to your feedback against your proposed removal of the shelter stop at your presentation at the Hollywood Neighborhood Association meeting, and I don't think it was an accident that I was not provided a link to actually join the meeting and be able to participate. I will not be shut up that easily, gentlemen. Your proposed removal of our Hollywood East stop on Northeast Broadway harms my community with no commensurate benefit for the general good. This is unacceptable, and it is unacceptable you've made your meeting so inaccessible to the very Hollywood residents who will be so negatively. I'm going to have to get a drink for this. How dare you throw my community with a disproportionate number of disabled, fragile, protected, and people of color under the bus. Our voice has been completely removed. All right. Yeah, tell them like it is. Of course, they don't care, but we care, okay? I'm hearing you, so there is somebody that cares. Too bad I have no power to help you.
99 101. And this is my lifeline. And I make many friends, and I have observed many people using the line while I was traveling. I don't mean that I travel all day, but in the many times that I travel on that line, I saw people in all walk of life, whether they're working, whether they are on route.
Okay, I'm going to cover some of these things that you're never going to hear anywhere else, because we know how things operate in the port. It's the same thing that happens everywhere. Okay, these people here all get fat paychecks. Got to remember, government works for the people that are working in government. It doesn't work for you. It works for the people that are here. It works for them. And they put on this little charade pretending that they care about you, because of course they have to put on the charade. They get paid to put on the charade. But here's a good one right here. Colleen Shoemaker. Changing the bus 63 route serves tourists and visitors to Washington Park venues at the expense of residents in the neighborhood by eliminating service of the residential neighborhood. Yeah, I mean, they just eliminated the fucking 63. And so they just, everybody, I know it wasn't very much used, but I mean, the whole thing about public transportation is when you need it, it's there. Okay, when you need it, it's part of the services. Like they put a road in, you know. Well, for people that don't have a car, that's why they provide. Wait a minute, wait.
Chair, whether they are walkers or elderly and young people alike. I found them there. And this is about the only line that kind of connect the west side of...
Wait a minute. These comments are better than this presentation, I'm sure. Cheryl Ann Lewis, you are excited to do this? Luke, this is Luke. Right here, see? What kind of monster are you? Oh my God, you're shameless. I promised my community that I'd boycott your unholy alliance with Bridges' fraudulent affordable housing high-rise at Hollywood Hub project tied to a percentage of the median income, which will rise in gentrification economy faster than low and middle income. Why not partner with true affordable housing tied to the resident's income, not the median income, right? Why not partner with Hum Forward in the Hollywood Hub and keep our 77 bus stop at Hollywood East, serving the disabled and seniors? Oh, man. These people are not to be messed with.
Downtown to the east side of a city without any transfer. And because it kind of take us, through many stops that we necessarily had to get through, whether it's the hospital, the Samaritan.
Why do they have a sign language person?
A Trader Joe's shopping center, Fred Meyer, and the bank, the U.S. bank, the only bank that's open now, and also down the Salmon. And because there are no other buses, that would take you from Fred Meyer to 10th Avenue in downtown. That's where I live. I often.
Okay, I'm thinking about here, Aunt Alicia Marie Poussin. I'm thinking about how bathrooms at transit stations. Sometimes I have to wait 34 minutes, and I get frustrated if I have to go. I have stomach issues, and I know tons of people that do as well. Heck, even a porta potty would do. Yeah, you'd think that a government that actually cared about its citizens would consider them for. But guess what, Alicia? Your government doesn't give a fuck about you. So no bathroom for you.
Shop Fred Meyer and carry loads and loads of grocery. And it is very inconvenient for me to have to walk another 2 long block to Alder. Plus, one major thing that I want to point out is Alder is kind of, and salmon. If you look at the map, if you come down and do a walking round, you see the south of for salmon, all high-rise residential people, and also a lot of affordable income housing, and people depend on public transportation to go from place to place to visit friends or visit business. I had the opportunity to visit with Aussie, one of your board member, on November 17th.
Aussie, baby!
And we kind of exchanged this very similar information that this is a very vital line. And she even agreed to do a walking route to validate what I was presenting.
All right.
And he's very sympathetic.
Stop the presses. Cheryl Ann Lewis is next. Hollywood East seniors and walkers and wheelchairs, which do not fit under the Trimet shelter, typically wait in shelter from inclement conditions in our lobby here at Hollywood East until the 77 bus is about to arrive, and then they come out and wait. Many of our disabled do not have motorized wheelchairs and move very slowly. Imagine how the removal of their stop will make them creep slowly through the rain, wind, freezing rain, just like we anticipate over the next few days. Imagine while you travel in the comfort of your cars, how would it feel if your mother or father had to push their walker, unable to hold on to an umbrella, and creep slowly through the extra block? Perhaps cross a busy hallway as well as in inclement weather. Please think about your mother in that position while you shamelessly invalidate the hardships you are causing my community. Trimet, and you wonder why you didn't get that fucking money from your tax referendum, because you don't help the community, man. Look at these complaints here.
And but
what is she talking about? Move on to the next person.
Until I met, I talked to Mr. Thompson the other day, just a couple of days ago. Then I realized this is never finished, and it just began another round, a final round that we're not prepared for it. I thought what we last talked, we kind of reinstate the number 15. I did not know that you actually are working on cutting it off, and really caught me by surprise, and I'm very sad.
Okay, so she got a service
cut. This is
cut.
A very bad time to decide something, a major line like this that connect the east to the west. And
well, you know my opinion about all of this, right? My opinion is very simple and straightforward. They're doing the exact opposite of what they should be doing. But we know where we live. I mean, you see the stock market getting all new time highs, and fucking whatever his name is, the fucking Tesla guy, and the rest of his fucking evil Satanist oligarchs keep getting richer and richer by the minute. I mean, it's in your face, the corruption of the oligarchy in your face. It's like, we have everything for us and you get nothing. That's what's happening here. They're stealing everything for us and you're getting nothing. And in the case of Trimet, they're changing this all around, and it's just going to screw the riders. Now, if it was actually a system that was for the riders, they would be increasing the bus service so that people wouldn't have to crowd, they wouldn't have to wait. But they were living in a backward society where everything is for the elites. And I'm talking about all of these people here too, all six-figure people. Everything is for them and nothing is for you. And if you're dependent on them, you're fucked. Okay, the government, is the worst thing to be dependent on. I knew that years ago. I'm surprised they're still sending our checks.
And when everybody is taking hiding in a home, and then you remove a line that they depend on very much. And when they
All right. I know a lot of people on my neighborhood needs to have the 156 bus running on the weekend. I know you don't have a bus on the weekend. Well, that means why have forget it. It's just to get people to work. That's the neoliberals only have transit so that people can be the slave to the neoliberal elites, the capitalists. So these neoliberal managers have service during the week, just so that the slavery can get to the job and serve the master. They don't give you service on the weekend, What will you do, or when will you do a real-time ride video on the red line? Who cares about that? About the 15, would you consider extending it a few blocks so it will terminate at Lincoln High School? What? They're terminating the 15? That's not what I've read. What are you talking about? What's that? That's not what they're doing. I read that myself. Why did you change the 11 to not go to Delta Park Max? Why did they change that? The panel, Trimet.
They come back in a more normal time. They will be shocked that they had no transportation to go west or east. And I strongly recommend that you folks reconsider this. And number 15 is vital to connect people from the east to the west or from the west to the east. And if you look for speedy way
shut up, lady! You talk long enough. Get it.
I think that that would be very.
Now you know why they put timers on the. Okay.
How defeating of public transportation, and
three. We have a 3-minute limit, and you're over. But we definitely have your comments, and I have forwarded them to Luke Norman. Luke, I don't know if there's anything you want to address in Serene's comments, but he definitely has received the information that you have sent us already.
Yeah, he's got the information.
Thank you very much for that. It was really great. Bit of information for someone who actually uses the service in that neighborhood.
When do we know your final decision?
We will be taking it to the board for the first reading in March.
You're not going to change anything. They don't ever change anything. You're wasting these people are evil, okay? They are not on your side. And they've already made all the decisions, and none of this is going to help. And I've read through those changes. I don't know enough about Patrick Stanley explained the 93, 94. The one ride thing, okay, that definitely makes sense.
Meeting will be in April, and in the April reading, that's when the board usually makes a decision.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
You're welcome. Thank you, Serene.
Yeah, right.
Okay, let's take another question, and this one is also for you, Luke. The question is, why deprive the most fragile of citizens from their bus stop on Route 77 at 4400 Northeast Broadway, only to reroute to a fast route that does no one any good? People who cannot walk use wheelchairs, walkers, and canes, and are completely ignored. The buses...
Yeah, they're closing the Hollywood to the... I mean, they're going to make people walk from Hollywood Transit that get off the Max out to the road now. That's just horrible. All for a property development scam. Oh, it just makes you sad to watch this.
Say would keep routes 77, 75 on Halsey is false. They are not on that portion of Halsey now. Further, you will be causing the Hollywood East Apartments, owned by Housing Authority of Portland, Home Forward, and the private entity Woods East, owned by Bank Wells Fargo, in order to facilitate a so-called affordable tower that is not affordable to the tenants at HWE, as Hollywood East. Men, women, and children will be severely hurt. How will you deal with the homeless you have created?
Thanks, Clay, for that question, and thanks for the person who shared it with us. Just a little bit of background here. As you may be aware, the Trimet is partnering with Bridge Housing to bring new affordable housing to the Hollywood Transit Center. The proposed housing would bring over 200 affordable housing units. with that change, we're looking at ways of supporting it through moving our bus routes and bus stops. The change that is mentioned here would move line 77 from Broadway 1 block south to Halsey. We're looking to establish new stops at Halsey and 45th, which is 400 feet from the Hollywood East apartments. So we're working to share information with the community on this, get feedback, and then
that's just
support
terrible
the
what they're
new
doing there.
Hollywood Hub affordable housing development.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you very much, Luke.
That's
And
not.
so now I have a question for Brenda. So Brenda, this is about line 63. And the question is, the neighborhood is concerned that we are losing our morning school connection and work connection to downtown,
Safety.
eliminating the bus as a means of commuting to downtown. We support the longer route to downtown to make the line more accessible for everyone, neighbors and tourists. But we are not in favor of losing the morning service through the neighborhood. What do we need to need to do to influence the outcome of the proposed change?
Hell yeah.
Thank you so much. That's a great question.
Yeah, that's a
I
great
think
question.
we're kind of in between an interesting point right now with COVID-19 pandemic having changed some of our bus schedules. So today, line 63 is actually running at 10 a.m. at the earliest trip of the day, and that's because school isn't in session. And so we understand and have talked to the neighbors in Arlington Heights that one of their biggest concerns about the change is losing those morning commutes. I think as we start understanding more about how schools will go back in session and what their plan is for reopening, we'll understand better how our buses will change their schedule, kind of back to potential pre-pandemic scheduling. And then that will help us hopefully alleviate some of the concern that you have in seeing how we might be able to help those students reach campus for the morning bell.
Great. Thank you very much, Brenda. So now I'd like to work with Don Neary for a live question. Can we go ahead and unmute Don so he can speak? Go ahead, Don.
Hi, can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Bye-bye, Dougie.
Okay. Number one, I think to make these changes during a pandemic time when ridership is obviously down because a lot of people aren't working, and also because you can't have in-person town hall. A lot of the elderly people that live on line 15 in the Thurman area aren't tech savvy, so they don't have access to smartphones and computers, so that makes it difficult. With that being said, there's a lot of elderly people that rely on this route to get to Fred Meyer's, and students also to get to Lincoln High School. You're bypassing Lincoln, and that makes it difficult. And also it doesn't stop it won't stop in the lower part of downtown and that will reduce access to the theaters and the farmers market down on Salmon Street.
What are they doing? Wait a minute.
And in addition to that, you're taking a route, the Thurman route, shortening it and sending it to down 19th and back on 18th. And those are streets that are already serviced by line 24. So basically, you've got more buses on the 18th and 19th than you do on 21st and 23rd. Bus routes to be serviced by those streets, which are busier streets. And the Thurman bus has been working that way for quite some time. And there's a fair amount of ridership in non-COVID times. You know, a lot of people work in the service industry, and later at night they're trying to go up that hill. The people that work a little bit later past your suggested new service times will have to walk up the hill. Personally, I shop at Fred Meyer's, and if I have 2 bags of groceries, if I get off on Thurman, I can walk home. If I have to get off on Bond Street, I have to walk either up some stairs or a hill, which can force me to take a cab, and that would be that's usually $10 to $15 extra. Another thing is if you feel that it's
Sorry, I've got COVID.
necessary to cut the Thurman line down, why don't you just take the 77 route and instead of turning right onto 23rd, just have it proceed up to the top of the hill under its normal scheduling and come back down, and when it hits 21st, proceed on its normal route that it has today. And in addition to that, I just feel like there's too many changes being made when people don't have access to totally voice their opinion.
You're right.
Thank you, Don. I appreciate your comments. We have a 3-minute limit, so Luke, most of that was projects that you're working on. Would you like to address any of that?
Yeah, we got a 3-minute
Sure,
limit
that's
here. You're
great.
getting paid
Thanks,
by the
Clay,
hour,
and thanks for the
motherfucker. So
question.
shut up.
Just a couple comments. One, we are planning to provide new service on Thurman that is west of 23rd, and that would replace the current Line 15 service. We're looking at doing that with that 30-foot bus to provide an easier turn there. So if we were to change the route for the 77 and have it serve Thurman, we would still have the issues we currently have where buses are required to make a 3-point turn. We looked at the ridership to help guide how much service we should provide on Thurman. And we looked at really west of 27th where you start to see more of the incline and where Vaughn becomes less of an option. There's no trip that has more than 5 riders getting on or off of it. So it's a relatively low ridership route. Based on that, we're proposing to maintain 2 morning trips and 2 afternoon evening trips to help commuters and students reach their destinations. Thanks, Clay.
Right, thank you very much.
Oh, Jesus.
And so now we have a question for Eve. Eve, this is about the Line 32 in Oregon City. And let me get back to the question here. We have quite a few coming through here. Okay, so this person is saying that they're pleased to hear about the additional service to Oregon City High School. Is there any discussion of extending service out to Holcomb Boulevard, also in Oregon City?
Thanks for that question, Clay. The change that we're proposing to the Line 32 to extend it to Oregon City High School on the new Myers Road extension is just that we're making changes just to that one southern portion of the Line 32 trip right now.
Great. Thank you, Eve. Appreciate that. So let's take another live question, this time from Ted K. Can we go ahead and unmute Ted so he can speak? Go ahead, Ted.
Thank you, and thank you for holding this session. I've been riding what's now Line 15 for over 60 years. This route has supported the neighborhood, Willamette Heights, since before 1900. Your proposals are not an improvement, they're not increased efficiency, nor are they helpful. This line is also the gateway to Forest Park for residents and visitors. The ends of lines always show low ridership, and your continued declining service is pushing me and many people off of the bus, forcing us to drive, and that's the wrong direction. Thank you.
Well, I missed it. Oh, fuck.
Thank you, Ted. I appreciate your comment.
I'm sorry, I gotta go back.
Relatively low ridership route. Based on that, we're proposing to maintain 2 morning trips and 2 afternoon evening trips to help commuters and
2
students
morning
reach
trips
their
and 2 afternoon
destinations.
trips. Fail!
Clay.
Right, thank you very much.
That's a fail. Miserable fail.
And so now we have a question for Eve.
2 morning trips and
Eve,
2
this is
afternoon
about the
trips.
Line 32
Fucking
in
fail.
Oregon City. And let me get back to the question here. We have quite a few coming through here. Okay, so this person is saying that they're pleased to hear about the additional service to Oregon City High School. Is there any discussion of extending service out to Holcomb Boulevard, also in Oregon City?
Well, if you don't
Thanks for that
see it,
question,
no.
Clay. the change that we're proposing to the line 32 to extend it to Oregon City High School on the New Myers Road extension is just that we're making changes just to that one southern portion of the line 32 trip right now.
Thank you, Abe. Appreciate that.
Well, obviously,
So let's take another live question.
if the goddamn change isn't on your paperwork, they're not going to do it. They've already made all these decisions without asking anybody. And now they come on later and they take questions now. But that's how it rolls. Who doesn't know this? This is how it rolls. They do everything on what they want, and you eat shit.
This time from Ted K. Can we go ahead and unmute Ted so he can speak? Go ahead, Ted.
Thank you, and thank you for holding this session. I've been riding what's now line 15 for over 60 years. This route has supported the
60?
neighborhood, Willamette Heights, since before 1900. Your proposals are not an improvement, they're not increased efficiency,
Whoa.
nor are they helpful.
Whoa.
This line is also the gateway to Forest Park for residents and visitors. The ends of lines always show low ridership. And your continued declining service is pushing me and many people off of the bus, forcing us to drive, and that's the wrong direction. Thank you.
That's called what's it called? The spiral of public transportation death. They cut service and they discourage riders, but they don't care because they have tax. They have guaranteed tax money, which they take for their paychecks. They don't care about you. Well, you're going to respond?
Thank you, Ted. I appreciate your comments.
No
Is
response,
there anything that you wanted to address on that one?
Okay. What's your...
Just thanks for the comment, and we'll continue to evaluate it along with all the other feedback that we're receiving.
Sure. Yeah, we're going to evaluate. We've already made the fucking decision, motherfucker.
Thank you,
Tell the truth. Fuck, they lie on top of it.
Let's move on to our next
Well, of course
question.
they lie. They
And
always
we'll
lie.
take
They always lie. They
something
lie.
from Facebook Live, see if we can get some questions coming in there.
So where the hell
And
is it
so let's
posted,
see,
then?
we have a question coming in from, let's see here. Okay. All right, so Brenda, this is a question for you. And this is regarding the line 63.
What does she do anyway? Who's
And
Brenda?
so with the line 63, the question is, how is the service change going to impact using the Washington Park shuttle?
What did I do with my phone now?
Thank you very much for that question. We're working very closely with Explore Washington Park to make sure that their service and our service work best together. So some of the changes that Explore Washington Park is planning to do once the COVID pandemic is over and we start making the changes to the line 63 is to run their shuttle 7 days a week. Right now they were having a shuttle service that was changing between their peak season and their off-peak season. So during the peak season, they were running 7 days a week, but in off-peak, they were only running on the weekends. So they are going to be serving all of Washington Park 7 days a week for free as we make the change to the line 63. We will be establishing some stops on Fairview with Explore Washington Park to make sure that residents along Fairview are able to wait for the free shuttle at those stops. There'll be less stops than there is today with the line 63, but hopefully at those kind of key places where we have seen some ridership while the 63 has been running. And we are hoping that then there will be opportunities to transfer from the line 63 to the Explore Washington Park shuttle around the Rose Garden and along Kingston at Fairview, which currently is the most populated line 63 stop. And so that will be a perfect place for residents to transfer if they would like to take the free shuttle up towards the zoo.
There's your
Great.
answer.
Thank you, Brenda. So let's go ahead and take another live question. If we could unmute Jeremy Sachs and so he can speak to our panelists. Go ahead, Jeremy.
Can you hear me? Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Terrific. Well, thank you again for hosting this open house. I would like to reiterate what Ted Kay just said about Line 15 and what Mr. Neary said as well. I've taken this bus every day that I've worked downtown for the last 20 years.
Wow.
And, Mr. Kay's taken it longer than me, as have other people. It seems like this neighborhood in Willamette Heights is fighting the same battle with Trimet every 10 years. There's always the same arguments that are thrown back up about why the line needs to be cut or reduced. But I would remind you folks that the line is relied on by kids going to school, by people who work downtown like me, by elderly people, and kind of by everyone to get in and out of the neighborhood. It's not a solution to say that we can walk down to Montgomery Park in the rain in the middle of the winter to pick up a bus. Yeah. It's not a solution to say this new line will run 2 to 4 times a day and drop you off down at the stadium, because that doesn't get you anywhere you need to go. So I would just encourage you to rethink this misguided attempt, which I would think is to save money in the middle of the pandemic.
Yeah.
I understand that ridership is down. Absolutely. I'm stuck in my basement every day. I'm counting on the bus to get downtown again. And I think one of the things that Portland is rightly proud of is its terrific transit. Well, this certainly puts a chink in that armor. I would also point out that in 2010, we had the same arguments made by Trimet about cutting the line down, that there's low ridership at the end of the line. Well, Ted addressed that. And that there's a turnaround problem. Well, that was addressed easily 10 years ago. I'm not aware of other issues. If there are any other issues about the turnaround, I'm sure that can be resolved without cutting the line and denying all the people in our neighborhood an ability to get around town without a car. The last thing we need are more cars on the road. I encourage you to revisit this ill-thought idea. Thank you.
And they won't.
Wonderful. Thank you, Jeremy, for your comments. I appreciate it. Luke, anything to comment on that one?
Sure. Thanks, Jeremy, for the comments. Just a couple comments that I would add. One is that when we've shared this with the public, we've definitely heard feedback like yours where there's a request to maintain service. We've also heard feedback from public neighbors who live along Thurman who are supportive of the proposal, who comment that they see the bus being lightly used, who live at the turnaround in Gordon and are looking forward to having a smaller bus there that's easier to turn. So we are hearing different comments, and we're taking those all in.
What an excuse.
As far as connections to Lincoln High School, that's part of the reason why we looked at our ridership and looked for the times where we saw the most ridership, and we're having the new route that'll come down and serve Providence Park, which is just a couple blocks from Lincoln. Those times will also serve the commuters to help them come down, and they'll have multiple transfer opportunities. They can connect with line 15 on Northwest 23rd. They can connect with line 77 on Thurman east of 23rd, and they can connect with Max and multiple bus lines at Providence Park. Thanks.
Thank you, Luke. Appreciate it. So let's go to another question for Brenda, and this is about line 63. Line 63 connecting to downtown Portland makes a lot of sense. Asking people to take max 12 blocks up the street to transfer adds a lot of waiting time that makes a transit trip uncompetitive with car trips. So glad you are doing this. I also understand that the western end of line 63 duplicates the Washington Park shuttle. But there is a benefit to having a bus connection to Washington Park when the max is down. Instead of eliminating the west end of line 63, why not do something similar to what you were doing to line 93 and 94 and eliminate the Washington Park shuttle as a separate line and absorb it into line 63? Those additional trips could operate from the zoo to the Rose Garden with hourly service maintained from Washington Park to downtown, so that Fairview Boulevard residents don't have to ride out of direction west to the zoo just to turn around.
You're too late. They've already made a decision. They didn't ask your permission. They just did it. And then they bring it to public hearing after they've done it in true Trimet style.
And head back east on the max. What do you think, Brenda?
Yeah, question. I always appreciate the thoughtfulness in how to solve problems. I know it's always fun to get to kind of think about different ways to kind of cut the pie. So I think the first thing I will note is that Explore Washington Park Shuttle is not a Trimet line. And so we have totally different budgets. And the Explore Washington Park Shuttle was really put in place to address a lot of the concern car ridership in the park. And I know that in the time that they have been running, they have greatly reduced a lot of those trips that people were taking by car into the park, and especially by connecting to the MAX. So I think that is probably the biggest hurdle in your wonderful idea. But I will also just continue to really give kudos to the Explore Washington Park Shuttle. For one, they're completely free. We are not. And so we think that, we hope that that is something that really draws more people to use their shuttle. They also have very great headway. So they run about every 15 minutes to half an hour in the park. And that's because they just get to have such a smaller service area that's so dedicated to the needs of the park, where the Line 63 has to, connect into downtown and today into Providence Park. And so, we do think that the Explore Washington Park is there to stay, and it's running so well, and it's really serving the park so well that we just really wanted to create our Line 63 and make it, more successful and more useful to people who are in the park and really residents. I know that taking service off of Fairview is difficult for some, but we have looked at the ridership, pre-pandemic ridership, I want to note, and there just wasn't that much use on Fairview. So we think that actually connecting to downtown, which is not a connection that really exists today, to the east side of the park by the Rose Garden is going to add a lot of value to the park and to the 63 and to kind of Trimet's goals of serving the park better. So thank you for your idea. I love it. And we'll keep really just trying to make the service better.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you, Brenda. Appreciate it. So here is another question for Eve. And Eve, this is about the Line 32. And the question is, how is this going to better serve the schools around Oregon City? And will you be closing any stops?
Thanks for that really good question, Clay. So this change that we're putting in place is really prompted by the opening of that Myers Road extension. We're looking forward to being able to serve the high school because we know it's an important option for students and families to be able to get to the high school car-free. So this is really focused on connecting Oregon City High School to the Line 32. It doesn't affect other schools in Oregon City, but it's focused really on that high school connection. There will not be any stops that will close as part of this. Right now, the Line 32, when it's headed southbound, it turns onto Trails End Highway. Instead of doing this, it's going to continue straight along Beaver Creek Road. And then when it gets onto Myers Road, it'll serve 2 stops on that Myers Road extension at the high school and another one a little bit to the further west. But since there are no stops on Trails End currently, no one will be losing a stop because of this change. Thanks again.
Thank you, Eve. Appreciate it. All right, our next question is for Luke. And Luke, this is about Line 11. And the question is, why did you change the Line 11 to not go to the Delta Park MAX station, which is what our original proposal a few months ago? What would make better connections with Line 6 and C-Tran?
Yeah, that's a great question, Clay. And thanks for whoever shared it. We're definitely looking for ways of improving the connection with Delta Park MAX. We had an original plan that was going to use a private road. We weren't able to come to an agreement with the private property owner. We are exploring options, and we're hoping that we're able to implement that Delta Park MAX connection in Line 11, Line 6, as well as C-Tran soon. So keep your eyes posted, and we hope to have more to share about that shortly.
That's not an answer.
Thank you, Luke. So let's go ahead and speak to another caller. This time will be Neil Goodman. If you go ahead and unmute Neil, and will this question probably be for Luke about the Hollywood Transit Center changes. Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Neil Goodman. I live at Hollywood East. I'm a Democratic Party precinct committee person, and I'm also a member of the Hollywood Neighborhood Association. And when last I noticed, the Trimet was saying the reason they're going to suspend bus operation from its current bus stops at 4400 Northeast Broadway was because the union members were saying they couldn't turn the wheel because it was too difficult for them to turn the bus.
What?
Then
What?
Trimet said it was wasting too much money because it was inefficient to move a bus where elderly, disabled people, low-income people frequent and will be ignored. And a study from the Portland State University today, released on the KOPD radio station, indicated it will take billions of dollars if the Hollywood East and other such structures are caused to close. And that was only because of financial evictions. But you're causing Hollywood East to close because you can't get people to and from the building. Just because the Department of Human Services is saying a 400-foot walk is okay for elderly and physically challenged people, doesn't make it so. And I'm here to tell you that there are small businesses here too, notably Trader Joe's, the grocery outlet, the farmer's market, and Whole Foods, and a church, no less, that will lose service to their enterprises. Closing stops 77 and claiming that you're putting it on to Halsey is not true. It doesn't help the population. It helps someone's bottom line, presumably, but it doesn't help the entire commonwealth of this neighborhood. I must tell you, this is not a bad idea. It's a terrible idea. And I also resent the fact that you patronize us people here who have no better way of communicating than in this public venue. You're not showing us careful, kind, and courteous behavior. You're showing us greedy behavior.
Thank you, Neil. I appreciate your comments. We have a 3-minute limit, and I just wanted to make sure that we had a chance to answer everybody else's questions. Luke, this is a question for you. Is there anything that you'd like to address?
Sure. First off, thanks for the feedback. We appreciate it. We've been engaging Hollywood East early in this process because we know that moving service from Broadway to Halsey is impactful. We want to make sure we hear that feedback and evaluate it. We are planning to establish new stops if we move line 77 to Halsey. That's just 1 block away from the Hollywood East apartments and other destinations there. So we do believe we will maintain service. And we are excited that we're able to do this. We have this opportunity to evaluate how we serve the Hollywood area in partnership with Bridge Housing to support the new affordable housing development that will transform the Hollywood Transit Center. Thank you.
Yeah, right.
Thank you, Luke.
There you go. There is your property development agency at work again. Trimet is a property development agency, not a transit agency. Thank God you voted it down in Tigard, because you'd all be dealing with this too. This used to be called Agenda 21. Now it's called Agenda 2030, where they're socially engineering what they want to happen. And the transit riders in Portland were abandoned when Fred Hansen showed up. That's when the Trimet organization became a property development organization, when Fred Hansen came into town.
So this next question is for Brenda. Brenda, this is about the line 63, and the question is, will the service, meaning the number of trips that are being taken up Fairview Avenue or up towards the zoo, and the service into downtown, will there be more trips or less trips, or will the service only the route is changing?
Oh, thank you so much for that question. Yes, so the service will stay the same The change in route from removing service on Fairview and adding it to downtown is exactly the same amount of distance. And so there's no change to kind of the bus having to travel farther. So therefore, the schedule of the 63 as it is today will continue forward, understanding obviously that with the pandemic, we have changed our schedules, and those will continue to change over the next year or two. So staying the same.
All right. Thank you, Brenda. This next question is for Luke, and this is about the line 15 on Thurman. And the question is about the study that Luke Norman mentioned with the ridership on the line 15 west of 23rd. How does ridership compare to the line 15 and line 77 running on Vaughan? Where can the public obtain the ridership studies and comments Luke is referring to with respect to the line 15 changes?
That's a great question.
Great question, yeah.
So I don't have the information on the ridership on Vaughan off the top of my head, so I think that's really interesting. I believe that all of our ridership information is either available on our website at trimet.org or can be accessed if somebody submits a request. I would say that we, as the line 77 and the 15 serve Vaughan, we do see good ridership as they continue to serve the industrial area. And that's an important link for us to make sure that we're able to continue providing those connections to working wage jobs. Thank you.
Thanks, Luke. And I actually have one other question for you. And this is regarding the line 66 as part of the Hollywood Transit Center proposal. And the question is, where would Route 66 end when Hollywood Transit Center closes? I think what they're referring to here is the route that the 66 is proposed to take east of the Hollywood Transit Center on Halsey.
Yeah, that's a great question. So for line 66 riders, we're planning on establishing a new stop on Halsey just east of 42nd. That's where line 66 riders would both pick up and then get off the route. We'll do a slight routing change that will have buses, instead of looping through the transit center, do a one-way loop on Halsey to 47th to Gleason back to Cesar Chavez. But that won't impact riders. So we're making sure to track that change and continue to provide that connection between Hollywood Transit Center and OHSU.
Great. Thank you, Luke. So our next question is for Eve. And Eve, this is again about the line 32. And the question is, will there be any increase or decrease in service for the line 32 when this change is made?
Thanks for the question, Clay. This is a change just with the route itself. We're not anticipating any changes to the frequency of this route at this time. Thanks.
Great. Thank you, Eve. Okay, our next question is for Brenda. And Brenda, this is about the 93-94 change. And the question is really pretty basic. Why is this change even being proposed?
Thank you for that question. The line 93 and the line 94 have the same exact routing from the city of Sherwood to the Tiger Transit Center, which means that we're kind of over-serving that section of the Route 94 because the 93 does it. We think that by combining them, we can actually get better service that's more efficient through that area and provide riders a one-seat ride through the Tiger Transit Center into downtown Portland. So we just want to try and use our hours better to serve that community better. And I do want to note, since this is a question about what the combination is doing, is that on the weekend, the 94 does not run. The 93 does run Saturdays and Sundays, and we'll be continuing that weekend routing from the city of Sherwood to Tiger Transit Center. So during the week, the line 94 will go into downtown, but on the weekends, the new 94 will only go to Tiger Transit Center, and riders will be able to make multiple connections to all the buses there. But yeah, we just wanted to be more efficient with the hours and serve Sherwood and 99W better for our riders.
Thank you, Brenda. So let's go ahead and take another live question. This one from Miriam Rice. we can go ahead and unmute Marion, and we can go ahead and have her speak. Go ahead, Marion.
Yeah, concerning, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, concerning the Hollywood Transit Center and bus number 77. So as a friend of mine suggested this today, go ahead and have it go up to Broadway so I can serve that apartment building there, and then have it turn down 45th instead of 47th, and then go on to Halsey. So you would still serve those places on Broadway, and then go back to Halsey. Yeah, and you miss that difficult turn at 47th. But
Well, thank you, Marion.
Walk is it's a long way to walk for somebody who's using a walker or something like that. So it's, saying that you told us they have to walk to, closing that stop is really hard to most people.
Great. Thank you, Marion. Appreciate your comments. Luke, anything that you wanted to address on that?
Yeah, I would say we appreciate the feedback. We have been looking at ways of evaluating the 77 over the past couple of years, and we have tested having the bus use 45th. To make that turn work, we would need to remove parking, I believe, on both ends of 45th. So then it becomes another conversation with the community about sort of whether it's what's the best way of using the public space there. Additionally, it does bring in multiple turns for the route like today. So one of the advantages we see of keeping line 77 on Halsey is we're able to remove the turns and also help remove travel time, especially for riders who are taking longer trips. And that's some of the comments that we've seen online, that people who are supportive of the change support the idea of being able to move through Hollywood a little bit quicker and then make their max connections.
Great. Thank you, Luke. And don't go anywhere, because I have one more question for you, and this one is a new one about the Line 19. And it says, thank you for considering our petition for continuing service on the number 19 to Union Manor. I hope when times return to, quote, normal, that evening service can be restored, so the seniors attending the theater, opera, etc. have a way to get to the manor. You have indicated the bus will come hourly, so how often will this bus will it actually be running to and from Woodstock Gateway down Bybee?
Awesome. Well, thanks for the question, and I want to thank everyone who provided feedback on our first proposal for Line 19. That was really helpful to determine what was the right service level for Union Manor. Our current proposal is that we will serve Union Manor hourly in each direction. So both trips to Portland and then headed out east will serve Union Manor once an hour between 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. As the Woodstock Bybee service will continue as it is today.
$47,000
will divert up to Union Manor. And we appreciate the feedback on evening service. We'll continue to monitor the line and evaluate as we return from COVID and see how ridership returns as well.
Bitcoins right now, I'd be worth $4,750,000.
Thank you, Luke. And so our next question is for Brenda. Brenda, this is about the 93-94. And the question is, why not just create one line that goes between Sherwood and downtown
money, America, money,
and have weekend service?
Money, America.
Yeah, that's a great question. And part of the reason we're not able to go from downtown Sherwood to downtown Portland on the weekends is because in combining the lines, there aren't enough bus hours. It's a little wonky, but we spend a certain amount on the service for the 93 and the 94, and we're really trying to just make all the routes that we're talking about today about efficiency and trying to remove some of the duplication that exists in our service district. So we are able to combine them for the weekdays and create that longer route from downtown Sherwood to downtown Portland. But on the weekends, we only had the service hours. We did ask the community in the last outreach level, and we did a survey asking riders if they prefer to have half-hour service from downtown Sherwood to downtown Sherwood to Tiger Transit Center every half hour, or if they would prefer to have service from downtown Sherwood to downtown Portland, but we would only be able to run it once an hour. And those were kind of the two options with the funding that we have for that line. And most people said they would prefer that half-hour service so that they could make better connections into the Tiger Transit Center and then just transfer to the line 12 or the line 76 or other lines. So we decided to keep it as it is on the weekends for now. But, you know, we're always looking at how we can improve lines. And as our funding gets better and people start riding the bus again, who knows what we might be able to do to continue to improve the service.
Wow, Jesus.
Thank you, Brenda. And so now we have a question for Eve. And Eve, again, this is about the line 32. And the question is this proposal being done simply to serve the high school?
I'm sorry, Clay, you cut out a little bit in the middle. Did you say?
The question is, yeah, for line 32, the question is this proposal being done just to serve the high school?
Well, this is something that in part, yes, it is. It was something that we wanted to do for a while, and really we're waiting for that Myers Road extension to do so. But it will serve the community as well around that area that we know has grown a lot. So I think there will be other benefits to neighbors as well as to the students students and faculty at the high school.
So she said yes.
Thank you, Eve. Appreciate that. So, Luke, this is next question for you. And this is about the line 19. And the question is, how will service change in the Eastmoreland neighborhood on line 19 on the what they call the Rex Loop?
That's a great question, Clay. So we'll be reducing service to 2 trips in the morning and then towards Portland, and then 2 trips in the evening, afternoon, headed out east. We took a look at ridership, and trips through Rex Loop are relatively lightly used. There was no trip that had more than 5 people getting on or off the bus. And so we focused on continuing to serve trips at those times of the day to help ensure that we connect commuters with jobs in downtown Portland and also connect students to schools. Thank you.
Thank you, Luke. And again, don't go anywhere because I have another question for you. And this one is about the line 15 on Thurman. And the question is, a single resident complaining about a mailbox being hit by the bus should not outweigh the needs of the entire neighborhood needing and relying on bus service, and for an entire city being able to access a major park entrance like the Thurman Street entrance to Forest Park. Has this change been communicated to PBOT and Portland's parks so they can weigh in on the impact to their services in the city?
Yeah, Clay, that's a great question. So we definitely agree we're not making any changes based on one complaint. We've heard feedback from multiple residents who live near Gordon who've expressed concerns about the bus turning around there. We know that there have been multiple mailboxes and other things that have been hit in the area. We've also done our outreach with the neighborhoods, with the Northwest District Association, heard feedback, and we've heard some people who've opposed. We've also heard a lot of support. And I think the support is that they want Trimet to continue to maintain service, which we're planning, but provide service that matches the ridership that's there, that serves people when they're typically using the bus, and then brings them home at the end of their days. Thank you.
Thank you, Luke. Appreciate it. All right, so our next question is for Brenda. And Brenda, this is about the line 63. And so the question was, I thought that in the original proposal, you were going to take line 63 all the way to 2nd Avenue. Is that still the case?
That's a great question. So we were considering a few options in downtown Portland, whether we wanted to run to 2nd Avenue, which is where we currently have a layover and where we thought would be a good place for our operators to take a break, or to run on the transit mall so that we might have better connections to other transit lines, but it meant that then the operator would have to lay over at Washington Park. We worked really closely with Portland Parks and Rec and with Explore Washington Park, and we were able to work together to establish a layover in the park, which means that we can better serve the transit mall, where we think we'll find a lot of riders taking other buses to transfer, or anybody who's visiting Portland and might be staying near downtown and the transit mall to get them straight into the park. So we felt like the transit mall was a better location for connections, where 2nd Avenue was a little bit farther off the beaten track. But it's always something we can fall back to if we need to. But for now, it's the transit mall, and we're really excited about it.
Great. Thank you, Brenda. And we have 3 minutes left, so
Oh,
I think we
what
have
a great
time
town
for
hall
one
this
or
was.
two
I'm
more
sorry
questions before we close out the evening.
I was
And
distracted by
so
most
this
of
is a
this.
question for Luke. And Luke, this is regarding line 19 as well. And
Who
so the
are these
question is,
people anyway?
our folks at Union Manor are very dependent on line 19. Is this an attempt to try and remove the service permanently?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, Clay, that's a great question.
Everything's a great question.
We definitely heard loud and clear that people at Union Manor ride on line 19. And based on that feedback, we are proposing to maintain service. We're planning on providing service to Union Manor with hourly trips between 9 a.m. and 3 p.m. And the initial feedback we've heard from Union Manor residents on that proposal has been very positive. So we feel like we've heard, we're making a change, and now we're getting good feedback on that. Thank you.
Yeah, they can't do anything about it. They've already made the decision. All right, that's the end of this
Great, thank you,
nonsense.
Luke. And so I think we have time for maybe one more question, and this one is for Eve. And Eve, this question is
Eve
about line 32. And the question is,
they got their
will
little,
this new service, this new route that they're going to be taking on Myers Road, will it serve the college better than it does today?
I think it'll serve the college as well as it currently does. And it also provides people an opportunity to go from the high school to the college.
I wonder if any of these, do you think any of these people have
Um,
actually ridden any of these lines? Do you think they know anything about the lines? I wonder. Or are they just in an office looking at maps? I mean, what the hell are they doing?
So it'll just serve a different entrance to the high school, to the community college from the south. That's something that's just recently been built. But the access to the college will remain the same in all other ways. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you, Eve. All right, we are at the end of our meeting time. We're almost at 6 o'clock, and so I want to thank everybody for the comments that you have sent us and for your participation in the meeting tonight. This is fantastic. As we mentioned, this is our second round of outreach. We did the first one in the fall, and now we will have our second round of outreach to get additional comments on the proposals that we have put forward. As we mentioned early on, nothing has been set in stone. No changes are permanent yet. The board will make take a first reading of the proposal
The puppets,
in March,
baby!
and then they will decide again on a vote in April. And so there's certainly plenty of time for comments, but our comment deadline for most comments is February 17th. So please, if you have comments and further comments, please go ahead and submit them before February 17th by going to trimet.org/plan, and you can enter your comments there. You can also email us directly at comments@trimet.org.
All right, goodbye. Good riddance. Oops, that's my font. All right, well, you heard it there first. Yeah, great. Wasn't that much different from a board meeting, really. Pretty similar.